Hi guys, and welcome back to the first video in a long time. It's been a while since I've spoken to you guys, and sorry, I feel like I've abandoned the group a little bit. That was not my intention. I got a little bit busy last year. I was given an opportunity to go and work in Belgium. I'm from South Africa, and it's an opportunity I couldn't say no to, and since that happened, that was in about October last year, and since this November, since that happened, I've been incredibly busy, for which I'm incredibly grateful. But it's time, right? So we had season 1 of The Amped Life, which ran for 3 years with regular videos, and I'm just going to call this season 2 with the aim of posting regular videos again, including live streams, which will allow you guys to participate. So I've set up my studio here with some live streaming equipment so that we can engage in conversation together, and I'd love for you guys to join me. I'll try and make it in times that works for people across the world, so that we can, because I can see a lot of subscribers are not from where I live in South Africa, but so we can all talk together, and I'd love to take messages, respond to your comments, so we can all continue in this journey of being an amputee together and help each other and expand our knowledge towards a better quality of life. So today I'd like to talk about 6 core insights that I came to in this journey as an amputee for, 18 years. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris. I'm an amputee. I'm also a therapist or a counselor. I work with addictions, disability, people struggling to find meaning in their life, relationships, quite a broad spectrum of stuff, and I love the work that I do. And a few years ago I decided to start this channel to share my story as an amputee and hopefully assist others to experience what I've experienced, which is a massive improvement to my quality of life. So I've made a few notes here of the things I'd like to talk about so I don't lose track too much, but I'd like to start off today by telling you a quick story. So 2 months ago, after a long period of hard work, I decided it was time for a break. I was feeling I was going to get burnt out, so my family and I headed out to Spain, and things went really well. While we were there, my son and my daughter and I found this cliff in this place that we were at called Cala Santani, which is in the island of Mallorca. And it was quite high, quite a jump. I used to love doing cliff jumps before I lost my leg, and I decided, and there's a reason why I'm telling the story, it's going to get to the points I want to make, but I decided to take the plunge and to jump. I was incredibly nervous, scared. I could feel the adrenaline rush, which is, of course, what I used to live for. I lost my leg in a paragliding accident, so adrenaline rush kind of cost me my leg, if you like. And I did the jump, and it was amazing, and I did it again, and I couldn't get enough. And that high, that incredible adrenaline high, stayed with me for a while. But then something happened, and it made me quite irritable, and my family had to tolerate me for the rest of the holiday. It wasn't all that bad, but certainly there were times when I was irritable and probably less pleasant to be with. But in hindsight, I figured it out. So after jumping off the cliff and landing in the water, which is the kind of stuff that I used to love doing as a fully abled mobile person, I realized I couldn't get back up. So I depended on my family to go down and bring my prosthetic leg back to the bottom area where I got out of the water. And that frustrated me immensely, the idea that I couldn't just go up and jump by myself. And I know this might sound strange to some, but that was such a big part of my life that experiencing it again and being reminded all over again, although it's years later, and I thought I'd dealt with all this stuff, what a massive impact losing my leg had on my life. Hit me hard, much harder than I realized at the time. But as I said, subsequently I reflected and I figured it out. And I thought to kick off the season 2 of The Amped Life with you guys, the series of talks and live streaming events, I'd like to share with you my thoughts on why is it that I feel my life as an amputee has gotten so much better, and why I feel like I thrived at some point after losing my leg. Not after experiencing a lot of difficulty initially, but certainly at some point. And I kind of identified 6 core areas. I've got my notes in front of me, so if I look down every once in a while, it's just to catch up. But I identified 6 core areas that I think helped me to redirect my life and to live a life that I feel is immensely fulfilling, connected, very enjoyable, and hence this channel is to share some of these things with you. I got a lot of flack, got into a lot of trouble for once saying in this channel that losing my leg was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And I understand a lot of people found that hard to believe, but I mean it 100%. I went too far as to say that if somebody had to offer me my leg back, but at the expense of what it had taught me, what life had taught me, after losing my leg, I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't trade my leg for what I had learned subsequent to losing my leg as a result of the struggle. And there are 6 core issues there that will support this statement. And I suspect in the comments below, and please comment on your thoughts on here and add points if you think it's helpful. I'm sure there are more very valid points, but I'm going to stick to the 6. These 6 things I feel will hopefully validate what I said, and I really mean it. I would not go back to where I was at the expense of the lessons that it had taught me and the value it's added to my life. So the first thing I think is really important is that I've learned that a crisis can become a life-changing learning experience. And I think it takes a bit. I'm not going to go too deeply into each of one of these points. I'm going to elaborate on them subsequently in other sessions and also in the live streams, but I'll go into them briefly individually so that we can elaborate at some point again. But the first thing I learned was that a crisis can become a life-changing learning experience. And I mean that for the good. Of course, if we make the wrong choices, it can also work out badly. But certainly it is an opportunity, which sounds very difficult, I think, if you're caught up in your crisis. But my experience, and I'm going to refer to my experience because it's what I know. I need to acknowledge we're all different. We all have different experiences, and I need to make, I need to accommodate that thought and make provision for we all have our struggles in different areas, and I acknowledge that. So I'm not saying my solutions are yours. I'm hoping some of them might be helpful. But so the first one is that a crisis can be a learning experience, and that was true. It turned out good for my career, for relationships. It improved. I had to sit down at some point and think, what are all the incredibly stupid choices that I'd made in my life that had got me to the point that I was, where I faced up to such a big crisis. And it helped me to reorient myself to certain goals and outcomes. The second thing is I had to identify my core struggle in this process. And at some point I realized that my core struggle, which was not apparent initially, was that losing my leg obliterated my identity, as I was this guy who was, cliff jumping, flying, rowing, carrying stuff, kind of saw myself as the person that could help others when they were struggling. And suddenly I was the person who had to ask people for help. And I'm not good at that at all, not good at asking anyone for help. Still, at times, I struggle with that. But I had lost my identity and in that process. What that did was it forced me to reevaluate who I was and ultimately come to realize that what I'd been doing in my life, career-wise, was in fact a self-betrayal of what I thought I really wanted from life. And in a way forced me to make a few changes, which has brought me to the point where today I'm a therapist, counselor, and I can help people, and that brings true purpose to my life. The third one was I needed to cultivate the ability to tolerate discomfort. That is to say that to realize that life is difficult, the fact that life is difficult is not the issue. And once we can accept the fact that life is difficult, the truth that it is difficult no longer matters. That's not my quote. That's a quote by someone called Scott Peck, where he asserts that once we can accept that life is difficult, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. We can kind of get on with dealing with the realities that we are confronted by. I've learned that often it's understandable that we look for comfortable outcomes when we're confronted by a challenge. And I've learned that often we are faced by a choice of 2 discomforts. The discomfort of continuation or the discomfort of change. The problem with continuation is the discomfort will persist, continue, and the discomfort of change will bring about relief, although it might be a more intense experience initially. The fourth was that I needed to find help in the right places. We need to help me to deal with my process and to accept alternative suggestions to solutions which I could not see at that point. My best efforts, I'd realized, had gotten me into trouble. I certainly needed external voices to help me. The problem is initially I asked for help, but would not accept it. So I would say, please help me, I'm struggling. I got to that point and found the humility to do that. And when people suggested things, I would reject it. But learned ultimately that my self-destructive choices were not working out, and I needed to change from being self-destructive, to practicing self-care, not at the expense of others, but also not allowing others to engage my life at the expense of myself. And a lot of that depended on the feedback that I accepted from other people, so as to not to live in an echo chamber where I hear everything that I want to hear, a bit like being on social media, but where I start getting feedback on what I do from others to gain a different perspective. The fifth one, and this is a really important one, is that I had to determine what my core philosophical outlook was on life. And by that I mean, what is it that I believe about life that will determine my decisions and choices today to provide the outcome that I want towards quality of life. And it comes down to a statement, really, which is that the world means nothing, that no one owes me anything. I don't owe anyone anything either. It'd be nice if we can choose to be helpful to one another, but life doesn't always work like that. But that life must nothing. No one must anything. I alone am responsible for my choices and outcomes. And the moment I get caught up in blame or externalizing, I get myself into a whole world of trouble. The problem with that is that the moment I blame someone for my predicament, I'm in fact becoming a hostage to somebody else's decision making. I'm saying, if you change your mind or you do things differently, then I can have a better life. And that's a terrible situation to get caught up in. I think that determining that core philosophical perspective will determine the choices I make today, that will facilitate the outcome that I eventually want. And it really comes down to cultivating self-awareness and to determining what my relationship is with my reality. So if I see myself as an entity and I see everything beyond me as so the self, I see it as the other. If you think about it, day to day we are making decisions that determines our interaction with everything that is not me. So I'm getting a bit philosophical now and a bit maybe even existential, but and in order to be able to make healthy decisions about my reactions to my realities, to life, in other words, I'd better get to know myself pretty well and try and establish that I'm quite a healthy individual and pursue that process and continually strive to improve my relationship, my engagement with reality. And when I mean reality, I mean all the people in my life, my job, laws, everything that is not me, in other words, that I need to engage and change how I respond to reality, because reality is not the problem. I'm not saying reality is not problematic. We struggle with all kinds of problems, but it's not the problem. My responses often were problematic. Reality is what it is. I need to choose under a certain given set of circumstances how I respond to those circumstances if I can no longer change them. And finally, my last core of my 6 insights was that I needed to find meaning in my loss. That is to say, and I think we're continually challenged to do that because life will be full of loss. It's a fact. And I'm continually challenged to find meaning in loss, in struggles and difficulties. And a lot of people would say, if you lose a limb, how is that possible? How do you look at that and try and find meaning in it? Well, I believe that in a loss, there's a discovery to be made that could be of value to us in our life as we go along, unlock other possibilities and potentials. And when I found meaning in that struggle, in that suffering, the despair around that issue started lifting, and I could kind of get on with my life and focusing on other issues. So those are the 6 core. I'm just going to run through them again. The first one was a crisis can be a life-changing experience. The second was I needed to identify my core struggle. The third one is I needed to learn or to create the ability to tolerate discomfort. The fourth one was that I needed to find help in the right places, from the right people. The fifth one was that I need to determine my core philosophical outlook on life that would determine my responses and my decisions today to facilitate a good outcome in life. And the sixth one is that I needed to find meaning in my loss going forward in order for the struggles, the suffering and the despair that it might bring about to lift and to inform life as I go forward. So I'd like to expand on those, and we will do that in our live streams when I come back, and I'll talk about those individual topics as we go along through the season of the AMP Life. But love to hear what your thoughts are on this. Please put them in the comments down below. Let's start a conversation. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, if you found there was something in it for you, please subscribe, click that notification bell for future videos to be posted, and if you like this video in particular, hit that like button. I would really appreciate that. It really motivates me to post more videos. So guys, look out for those live streams. I will put them on the channel. You'll get the notification for that. And please join us when I go live, when I go online, so that we can chat real time and address our struggles, but as well as the good stuff that we experience in this process of being an amputee. So thanks a lot, and please come back, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Ciao.